Hello, welcome to the Yaoi
Hello.
Shelf. Grab a seat and relax.
I
Happy
would love
Pride.
to. Happy Pride.
Carola's
Happy.
had a hell of a weekend.
I I am the Yaoi disheveled. That is me.
I
Uh,
quit.
between between being invaded by family who wanted to replace my broken shower cabinet, the
Yes,
same shower cabinet exploding
yes.
yesterday, and my cat having a seizure, I'm having a great weekend.
I actually had a lovely weekend. I got a
I
facial done and
I
I
love that for
slept.
you.
Yeah, I
I
got a
love that for
facial
you.
done. I got dermaplaning, which is
That
lovely.
sounds
Painful?
No, I was gonna say it sounds like construction work.
I mean, it is. It's removing like entire layers of like dead skin.
Hmm.
So, uh,
So you feel fresh.
I do feel fresh. I feel
I feel
very
like I mean
fresh.
I feel like I've been dragged under the dermaplaner. Like that's me. I was just stuck underneath it.
Now I can't help but imagine the duraplanner as like a forklift or something.
I'm picturing like a not a bulldozer. What are those things with the big round things in front? I don't know what those are called. I always thought that was a bulldozer when I was a child.
You ask the literal least butch bougie person on earth about construction materials.
I don't know.
Like I have an answer.
Listen, we are
Um,
both queers in Pride Month. None of us knows what these construction machines are called, okay?
yes.
I don't know anything.
Oh, it's a steamroller with the big
Yeah,
tires.
yeah, yeah. A steamroller. I knew
I
that.
know. I know what a thing is. Yay!
Oh my god. Just two gay people trying to
Just,
survive in a.
just two gays doing their best. Speaking of, uh, what was that?
I'm just road
What?
roller. I'm being shown. Yeah. I'm being shown Wikipedia articles on the side here. Road roller, apparently. Go on.
It sounds like that sounds like a skating derby name.
Yes.
All right. Hello. We are here to celebrate Pride. It is the second day of Pride.
Second of
Uh,
Pride.
and we're here to talk about naming conventions in the boys' love space.
Yes. I'm sorry. I've spent the day reading academic papers and I am tired and angry. I am gay wrath. Fight me.
I I won't. I won't. I am gay sloth. I don't want to fight anyone. I'm gay sloth or I'm gay envy. Envy's already gay. Anyways, um we are very, very excited to talk about naming conventions, particularly in the boys' love space, because it has in recent years gotten a little contentious. How we name and how we categorize things. Contentious is a very polite way of saying it's gotten a little crazy.
My god.
But that's why we are here to discuss it, to go over it. I think that's why it's so important, especially during Pride, because a big thing that we advocate for and talk about a lot is how detrimental infighting is. That if we spend all of our time fighting against each other, we don't have the resources, time, or energy to fight against actual threats.
Hmm.
So while there is a non insignificant group of fans who are determined to make naming conventions racist, which they have,
Oh yeah.
there are actual threats to queer people, checks notes everywhere, but pop off against naming conventions, I
Yeah.
guess.
I guess that's where you wanna
This is where,
start.
yeah, this is where we're spending our finite life energy is fighting about whether something is a boy's love or it's a queer romance. That's what we'll do, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I will be fair. That actually does sound like me because I love semantics, and I will die on this hill. And when I die, you know, it's gonna say on my pyramid, on the little plaque thing, it's gonna be like, disclaimer, BL is all of these things. I
Yes.
I'll
We're
take this
jumping
to
the
the
gun.
yes. I'm just saying.
Also,
I
I'm
will
still
die on this hill.
I am still tickled pink that I'm excused from pyramid service.
Yes,
I'm going to print
because
out a document.
you need like you don't even need like a doctor's note. Just I
I'm
would
going to
say
make
something
myself
like
yes.
something terribly uh uh what the hell? Words are escaping me. Not to you know to sound like a fraudulent person, but just like fork over your identification papers, so we
Yeah.
can just
So
document
we
why
can
you can't be
excuse
on pyramid
right.
service.
We need to excuse you from it's like a draft where you have to say, "Oh, I have flat feet or whatever." Like, "Oh no, this is my
Yeah,
special paper that says that I'm exempt from pyramid service." Uh
I
this is
mean
the part of the show. Yes.
you still get to stay in the pyramid with
I'm glad.
me
Thank
in the
you. I
afterlife. You just don't have to build it because that would
thank
be
you.
wrong.
That would be
That would be morally wrong. And like I'm not a person of many morals, but there are some things I will not do.
I'm
Slavery.
glad that slavery is off the table. How progressive of us during Pride.
I
Slavery is
cannot
off the table.
I cannot believe you allow me to sit on the internet and say these things. I can't wait for the cancellation brigade to come for me. Just
I mean, the fact that it hasn't happened yet.
I know, right?
So this is the part of the show where we say that we are on Patreon. We will thank our patrons at the end of the episode, but we love and appreciate our patrons. They help us buy gifts for our guests, uh,
Yes.
and support nice things like subscriptions and allowing us to immediately take that money and go pay a bunch of artists for very, very niche porn.
Yes. And thereby contributing to, you know, this whole BL economy where everyone is just paying each other. Like you get Patreon money and you put it into other
Yes.
people's Patreons. Like that's what you do. I love this
Yeah.
ecosystem. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's the one time that trickle down economics works is
And
that
like
my
it's the
money
literal
trickles down to artists that can sell me niche porn.
we're just literally a bunch of like deviants buying
Yeah.
porn from each other. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. Like
I love it.
we're the true money makers and economy builders.
You know,
Don't
I
tell
think we
Republicans that.
no, but I do think that that is, you know, on a side note, we should probably like do a whole thing on BL economy because it's such a fascinating
The BL economy.
the BL economy.
Comment below if you'd like us to do an economics of BL episode.
Oh my god! Just don't expect me to do a budget because like I can't do
I'll
math.
do it. I'll do the budget. So we're gonna start this episode by just defining some terms. We have a lot of them,
Yes,
but we're gonna start with definitions, and then we're going to get into why any of this matters. So let's
I
start
was
with
gonna say
yes.
putting the dick in dictionary, but don't mind me. Amanda is this close to kicking me off the show. It's like happy pride, you're fired.
Yes.
I saw an opportunity. I grabbed
You
it.
did, and
I had to.
I can't be mad at you, but
No,
that
you can't.
doesn't mean that I'm any less disappointed.
That's even
Like,
worse. You're not even mad. You're just disappointed.
I'm
So-
not mad. I objectively can't be mad, but that doesn't mean I'm happy about what just happened.
But it's
Oh my
fine. You'll
God.
forgive me. I am cute, and therefore you will forgive me. I had a terrible weekend, Amanda. Let me live. I'm so sorry to all of our listeners, but I am falling apart.
Carola's gone full white woman in a true crime special where it's like, I'm cute and I thought nothing would happen to me. Oh
I'm
my
out here
God.
committing word crimes and defending
Just
it.
full on word crimes. All right. Let's
Yes.
start with a term that is at least contentious to us, which is MLM romance, or I think it's men loving men.
Yeah, or men who love men.
There's not
I've
a
seen,
W in there.
no, I know, but I've seen both. And it's like, it's a silent W.
Amanda's English degree rises out from the catacombs. Like there's not a
I,
W in there.
I didn't say I invented it. I
You
just,
didn't. You didn't. You didn't. Uh, so MLM is a more recent title that we've seen
hmm,
used by particularly Western creators
yeah.
to describe queer romance that is, of course, gay in nature, which is men attracted to men. This, however, has proven to be a very, very narrow lens. It is almost exclusively cis gay men.
Mm,
It's almost exclusively cis gay white men with the occasional person of color thrown in for some exoticized fetishization,
AKA flavor.
some zest.
Some zest. You know how
Some
white
zest.
people like some zest? We need some,
Yeah,
spices that are not salt and pepper.
yeah.
Um,
You need to occasionally over sexualize a brown person,
mm,
for fun.
yeah, I think it does depend on kind of like where in the world you're like, or not where in the world, but like where in the world of fiction you're looking. Because like
Yes.
if you look at like I was on Goodreads, and if you look at like if you look up the MLM category on Goodreads, there's like, a whole ass like all of these lists, and they're all like, this contemporary YA, and of course you
Mhm.
got your Heartstopper, and you got like Red, White, and Royal Blue, but also like Cemetery Boys, which I did read and really enjoy, by the way, which does have, you know, I enjoyed it, but it was like, it's like fantasy, which I don't typically read, but I enjoyed it. I just want to say that. But Mexican trans male protagonist. And
Yeah. And
for the I think for the audiences, it
yes.
tends to be a lot more varied and like not as homogenous as like the people who produce a lot of this
Mhm.
content, I feel.
Absolutely. And like a bumper statement to say at the top of this, these are generalizations. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. There will always be exceptions to the
Hmm.
rule. But yeah, for the most part, most of the time when we're describing an MLM romance, it's your heart stoppers, it's your red, white, and royal blue. It's Western creators who have decided that the term boys love doesn't fit what they do
Hmm.
for various reasons.
And
We're gonna put a pin in
sometimes,
that.
yeah, we will put a pin in that. I will see if I can keep my thoughts long enough to actually keep the pin.
That
Um,
is not screaming.
Not the screaming. No, I was just gonna say, like, for me personally, like, I also like to differentiate them for personal reasons. Like, some
Yes.
of those are authorial intent reasons, and some of those are
Mhm.
just me being a petty bitch. But one of my main problems with, and we've talked about this a couple of times
Mhm.
on this podcast. One of my main problems with the whole MLM label is how confusing it is. Because
Because
I will,
multi-level marketing.
yeah. And in the end, they're kind of the same thing because we're all just like, you just end up selling your soul to this scheme where you're just like constantly buying more books. It's the same thing.
Next, you'll be going door to door selling protein shakes and mediocre gay novels.
It's like, hello, please buy this mediocre gay novel so I can buy more mediocre gay novels, which I need.
I also have leggings. You know,
Just buy something. I have a habit. Like,
I
I
have
just
I have
need.
leggings, protein shakes that taste like chalk, girl boss
Mm,
water. Oh my god, I never told you about the girl boss water, did I?
no.
So I was
I.
working. Yes.
What?
So it was at one of my old jobs. This
An
like
MLM?
no, I was not working at the MLM. the business next to us was an MLM,
Oh,
and we didn't
okay.
know because they just set up as like, oh, like it's a beverage shop, it's a cafe. So they came over. We're an ad agency. They have free shit. We're all over it. So they give us like these little like full size cups. They're not little, full size fucking cups of this like my blue Kool-Aid colored beverages, but pink.
Oh,
And like we're just slurping them down. Like they're free. They taste good, but like a couple of the girls on the team are like, I'm starting to feel a little funny. I don't really like this. It's like, but I can't stop drinking it. Turns out there's hundreds of milligrams of caffeine in those drinks because they're meant to help you lose weight.
is that
They're
legal?
weight loss. Yes.
Oh my god.
There's hundreds of milligrams of caffeine in these drinks. And like one of the girls is just chugging it down, did not drink caffeine.
Oh,
So we're just like, oh, cool. One of us is going to die.
that would be me. I would be
And
the
then,
dead one.
and then, yeah, we found out, we started calling it girl boss water because it's like clearly an MLM. So yeah, that's the girl boss water. But yeah, someone's just like door to door selling leggings and girl boss water.
Is like, why
Yes.
isn't anyone selling, like, market the girl boss water to writers? Like, we need this. I mean, I would die.
Well, Panera tried, and then a couple of people died.
Oh, I remember Panera.
Like people have tried to sell girl boss water, and then people fucking die.
There was a documentary about that, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God, I
girl
remember
boss
that.
water has been a part of the American lexicon for many, many years, even back when we were selling a radioactive sports drink that made people lose their jaw.
What is wrong? I have so many questions. What? Excuse me?
You didn't. There was a radioactive drink that people used to. It was called Radithor.
And
You
the
could buy
rad
this-
was for radiation, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. No!
It was called Radithor.
I am
So that
learning. I am
confused you.
learning a lot today, and I hate it. I genuinely hate this.
It was an energy drink that was said to provide an energy boost and cure impotence.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be impotent if you're dead. I guess. Not from what I've seen in vampire fiction.
So yeah, that was a whole thing. And like, yeah, like people
my
lost their
God.
jaws because they're just slurping down Radithor. Anyways, as radioactive as radiation is, MLM romance has continued its spread across the mostly YA
Nice
space.
segue.
has continued its mostly toxic spread across the YA space. And toxic not for the content, toxic mostly because of the authors. Because
And then
this,
consumers, yeah.
and some of their consumers. So pin in this, we're going to come back to this later.
Yes.
Now,
I have a whole paper on this sitting right here.
Carola just sitting here with papers. Now, the thing that this podcast is said to be about, boys love or BL.
Woo!
What was that?
I am just excited.
What was that tired woo?
Woo, woo. I am extremely tired. I am allowed.
You are allowed.
I
You
am
need some
allowed.
Radithor. You need for energy.
No, maybe some girl buzz water, but I'll hold off on the Radithor.
We're
Thank you very
we're
much.
good-
I don't.
no, we're gonna get
I
you-
like my jaw. I think
We're gonna
I
get
know-
you.
like I know I've said that I want one of those really nice and sharp cosplay jaws, but not like
Yeah.
that. No.
This is not the way that you wanted it.
Oh god, it's like that. It's like that. Have you ever seen Zombie Strippers?
No, Carola.
Why
I
not?
haven't.
It's a very good movie.
Because I was too busy researching radioactive water.
Okay, well, Zombie Strippers is a film starring my favorite adult star, Jenna Jameson, and Robert Englund of Freddy Krueger fame. And it is amazing. There's a zombie apocalypse breaking out in a strip club, and there's this one dude who gets turned into a zombie, but his jaw falls off. And this entire film, the zombie is just so sad because he can't bite anyone, and it is the funniest fucking thing. And that is exactly what would happen, I think. That is what I'm picturing when you're talking about Radathor.
Apparently, you can go see a bottle of Radathor at the Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity.
You know, places I would never set my feet? The Museum of Radiation! No! I am not going!
We're not going to the museum.
I am not!
We don't want to go to the Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity.
If I wanted to go to the Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity, I would cross the border from Sweden into Chernobyl.
Apparently it's safe. The website says it's safe.
The website says it's safe.
The website says it's safe.
The labels on your toxic Kool-Aid says that that's safe, but it's not legal in Europe. I'm just
Boys
saying.
Love. What is
Yes.
it? So,
Yes.
Boys Love, as we mostly understand it, is an umbrella term
Yes.
describing queer romance between men.
Yes.
It has a strong connotation of being media that originates from the East.
Yes.
Specifically Japan.
Yeah. The term itself is Japanese. I mean, it's waseigo. It's fake English, but it's Japanese. I mean, we are basically doing this backwards based on our outline because, like,
you have had just as many days with this outline as I've had.
I know. And every time I looked at it, I was like, oh God, this again. And then it's fine. No, but like when we will get to these other terms that I'm sure that our listeners are very familiar with. If not, yes. I don't understand what you've been doing.
Be nice.
I am nice. It's just, you know, we say these things a lot.
We do.
But basically, in the 90s, there's a BL boom in Japan, including commercialization of BL type works where I mean we now know it as, you know, this umbrella term that encompasses particularly Eastern fiction about queer men. However, it is literally just something that came from consumerism. It came from capitalism when the Japanese bookstores were like, well, this is selling like hotcakes. How can we make it seem even cooler? How are we going to label these shelves? And they were like, let's write it in English. And then they wrote boys love, and then it stuck. Like, that is literally where it came from.
Yes.
I am a purist, so I like to say that, which is funny because I write BL.
You do.
I do. And then I'm like, it can't be BL if it's not. That's weird. No.
Well, and BL in that instance, I feel like has its own genre conventions and tropes that are different from Western MLM romance.
And again, pins in those probably.
just imagine lots of pins. There's just lots of pins.
It's just a murder board. It's just us with the red string and the pins. There are a lot of pins.
The Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity has a light cover from Chernobyl's control room.
Stop looking at the Museum of Radiation. We're talking about
I want to go to the Museum of Radiation. Your Patreon money helps me go to the Museum of Radiation and Radioactivity.
Where is this museum?
Let's find out. Let's see. I think it's in California.
Well, you were just there. You could have gone.
Yeah, I'm going to bring my Southern family to the Museum of Radiation. They're going to have a great time.
Happy birthday, Auntie. Let's go to the Museum of Radiation.
Happy 60th birthday. We're going to go learn about radiation. Hold on. It is in... Just tell me... It's in Tennessee.
What?
It's in Tennessee.
That's not in California. Or is there a Tennessee? I have to ask, because what the frick, America? I am so tired of Googling things. And then it's like friggin' how many Londons does Texas have?
I think we only have like one. Anyways,
Okay.
boys love has its own genre
Yeah.
specific and trope specific notions due to its history being being under that shoujo umbrella initially.
Hmm.
So there are things that make boys love very unique to itself in comparison to like a lot of Western works. So like
Yeah.
even though as Carola mentioned, Carola is a Western writer, I would definitely say her work just trope and convention
Yeah.
wise falls more neatly in line with BL than it does with something like Heartstopper. Also because it's better written.
Oh my god. I said nothing. I have said
I,
nothing.
also because I could get through Carola's novel.
Thank you. Thank
I could
you.
I could get through Carola's. There wasn't enough murder for me, but it was still good.
There is murder in one of my other novels, but it's not enjoyable.
Uh
Hey?
Yaoi.
Hmm?
What was that sound?
My sound or the cat?
No, that was okay. It
He
sounded
is
like a ghost.
no, he's here screaming because
Okay.
no one's paying attention to him. Poor baby.
Sounds
He's
you
right
can't
here,
scream while we're recording.
rubbing
All
his
right,
head on my table.
I can hear it. Yaoi. Do you want to combine Yaoi and Shonen Ai since they're very, very similar?
I mean, yes and no. Okay, no. I mean, they are distinct from each other,
They are.
but not
They
for
are.
the reason you think Western audiences. I mean, our audience probably don't think that anymore because we have been talking about this.
Carola, just explain the terms.
Okay, so hello, cat. Um, so yaoi, as we know, I mean, yaoi emerges in the 80s as part of
Mm-hmm.
the fan culture of BL.
Mm-hmm.
So it is basically just it emerges as part of like doujinshi fan works,
Mm-hmm.
what was
Mm-hmm.
known as aniparo, so parody manga. So
Mm-hmm.
inherently, not only is it not inherently necessarily pornographic, it wasn't necessarily gay. It was just that most of the fan works were
We're
gay
gay,
because they were based on shonen series and sports series, which
which are gay.
are gay. And so and so it becomes kind of tied in with uh
Mm-hmm.
gay content and explicit gay content, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
West. And that has to do with the translation issue that which again, funny because it branches off and then it gets in you, like it has separate meanings in the West
It
and the East.
does.
And in Japan now, you barely, like, you don't see it used anymore. Like, it's not a term that they use typically. They
Mm-hmm.
use BL, whereas Shonen Ai is the predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, this is the shoujo of the 70s. It's the pretty
Yes.
boys who fall in love with other pretty boys who are all miserable. They're beautiful and miserable and sad, and they
Jano
die.
Subete flashbacks.
I'm over here like Kazuto Kinu. Okay, I'm fine. But but and it comes from a variety of sources. So you
Mm-hmm.
have the term tambi, which means like elegance and decadence, which was used a lot to describe these types of stories. And
Mm-hmm.
because they were heavily influenced by German and European writings, the German
Mm-hmm.
term Knabenlieb, which literally means boy love, was translated into Japanese shonen ai. And so they were like, oh, let's just call it that. But it took a while, but it starts in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And that refers to commercialized works, whereas yaoi refers mostly to fan-made works. So,
Right.
and then
And a
eventually
note.
we
Well,
make
and a
them
note
interchangeable.
that not only do we make them interchangeable, we assumed that yaoi meant pornographic, while
Hmm.
shonen ai didn't. And that is a convention that I still think relatively stubbornly sticks,
Yeah.
especially in the West. Not so much in Japan, not so much in the country of origin,
Yeah.
but in the US, especially amongst us older fans, I think you would still struggle to get us to separate
Yeah.
from that what was drilled into our
I
heads.
mean, this is the hill I will die on. This is where I will. This is the battle I am fighting
And
uphill.
I respect it. Like I don't
Every
like I
day.
like I don't think I'm right in
No,
this. It's just that's
but
what, yes.
it's also like you're technically not wrong. Like from the origins, like the meanings of the word, like where they
Mhm.
came from, what they initially meant, it is
Mhm.
wrong. But then it takes on a Western meaning, like the
Mhm.
connotation in the West, and it's kind of hard to get rid of that. And
Mhm.
then of course there's been a resurgence, and again, lots of pins here, but with the ongoing discourse and miscommunication of a lot of these terms, the
Mhm.
idea of what yaoi is as being sexually explicit has
Mhm.
definitely come back in full force, I think.
Absolutely. And I think there's also an important note here to make that there's an interesting formatting decision that comes with a lot of these terms. So like almost all of these are going to be in book form. And then your yaoi, your shonen eyes, and your geikomi or bara, as we have listed below, are also going to be in your standard manga form.
Mm.
So like again, we wouldn't consider, a lot of Western series, even if they're drawn out, that's a graphic novel. That's not a manga. And you get a
No.
lot of those like fun but silly like geographics issues of like when is an anime and when is a manga.
Yeah. and
Like
and it
mine
yeah,
with Avatar The Last Airbender.
yeah, which still is confusing to me, like, and that's another thing, like, because if you go to Japan, like, because in
Mhm.
Japan anime is just short for animation, and they
Animation.
yeah, and they use it to describe anything. And then
Mhm.
I have seen people claim that the Japanese language separates between manga and komiksu, so
Mhm.
komiksu being Western comics, but then
Mhm.
that also doesn't seem to be the case in a lot of like stuff I've read about it. So that
Mhm.
seems to be more of a fan, once again, like one of these fan ideas that we have. So
Right.
but from a Western perspective, there's a huge difference. And for me, like, mainly I like to differentiate between anime and like cartoons and manga
Right.
and graphic novels, because
Right.
or comics, because those, the Japanese manga, for instance, there are so many subgenres and so many variations,
Mhm.
and like it just doesn't have
Mhm.
the same connotation and the same, like, it's just different all over in like the way that it is published, and the way that the stories that are told, and how, like, the audiences and demographics that it's geared
Mhm.
towards. And so it becomes a natural distinguishment between like the Eastern and the Western comics, I think, for a lot of us.
Absolutely. And I think if you press any of the older generation, me included, you're going to hear some parts of it that are a little problematic as to why we so staunchly defend one over the other. Like, I remember dealing with that a lot during like the rise of Avatar The Last Airbender, where it's like, oh my God, it's anime. And it's like, no, it's a cartoon. It's
Yeah.
good. It's a cartoon.
I mean, I've never watched it, but I don't think it's an anime. I think it's a
Right.
cartoon.
And like,
And that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's not derogatory,
right.
but it's a cartoon.
I mentioned in a derogatory way back then because I was tired of everyone saying how great it was. I've been a contrarian forever. I was saying in a derogatory way because I was tired of everyone like jerking it off. And it's like, this is Naruto.
But
I
yeah,
could
and
just go watch Naruto
uh, is it as gay though?
in places.
Like, happy Sasunaru month to those who celebrate. Like the
Oh my
gayest
God.
ninjas. Oh my
No.
god, you don't
You
understand.
want to talk about gay Komi and Bara?
Yes, just let me say that my timeline is overflowing with Sasunaru, and if my weekend had not sucked so much, I would be drowning you in it.
My
Unfortunately for me, I've
timeline.
been busy.
My timeline has been full of hell of a boss discourse.
Oh no.
It's bad.
No, I was gonna say, oh, hell of a boss. Oh, that's fun. And then it's like discourse. No.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's not. It's not positive. It's
What's wrong now? Do I dare to ask before I talk about Geikomi?
There was a new episode released,
Oh right.
and two characters with a lot of trauma did some trauma stuff, and now people are upset.
Oh no. You
Yeah.
mean? Oh, okay. No. I am sorry to the hell of a boss fandom that you have to go through this. in these trying times. In
I just
Pride
wanted
Month.
I just wanted a dumb gay cartoon. I didn't ask for this.
We
I
never do.
if I wanted to relive fights with my ex, I would just go through our chat log.
Ugh.
Like
Why do
I'm
that when you can pay for it via Amazon Prime? No, wait, Hell of a Bus is on YouTube, right?
I was about to say, hold
Yeah.
on. We're
No
gonna
way.
like wait. Uh so Gay Call Me and Bara.
I mean, are the same thing. Once again, lost in translation. Bara is what a lot of us think about when we, like the
Mhm.
homosexual manga made by homosexual men for homosexual men.
Yes.
And I think that is, the reason why we call it bara. I don't know if this is just something that my brain has been doing, because I've always felt like the word bara kind of describes their body types, which in
Yeah, I thought
which
so
in
too.
yeah, which in Japanese, that body type is called gachimuchi. And they, but the word bara actually means rose, and it comes from the distinguishment of gay men in magazines, in like columns in magazines, referring to themselves as the Barazoku, the Bara tribe, the Rose tribe, which is also where Yuri comes from, because there were no lesbians, so the lesbians were writing into the gay magazines, and since the men were roses, the women were lilies, so they started referring to themselves as the Yurizoku, the lily tribe. Anyway, that was a digression. So the that's where the term Bara. What?
Why are gay people?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like my flower language is better than your flower
Oh my
language.
gosh.
Okay?
Why are gays?
I think it's beautiful. And so that's what the word bara means, and that's where it came from. And then somehow the West got this confused, and we were like, oh, so it's bara. But nobody in Japan refers to bara as bara because it's gay comics. So literally gay comics.
Mhm.
Which again is different from BL, because not only because of the very um, extremely masculine portrayal of these men, but also because of
Mhm.
how a lot of these stories are portrayed, and like a lot of the characters are portrayed.
Correct.
And like going back to what you said earlier about, these conventions, and like how, like, what counts as anime, what counts as manga. I
Mhm.
also think that that's interesting, because if you look at like Geikomi, that gachimuchi style, right?
Mhm.
It is, it is so hyper masculine. And if you look
It
at like
is.
someone like Tom of Finland, like the artist, you've seen
Mhm.
this, the Tom of Finland prince. Like it's kind of like,
Of course
v-
I have.
yes, and it's I just have to ask, because Finland, I get like, is this something everyone knows? Okay, good. I mean, I know it's fine, but I would say like it kind of has the same kind of aesthetic, but
Mhm.
Tom of Finland's art is not geikomi, and you wouldn't call
Mhm.
it that, because
No.
it's not. Yeah.
And there's also this really, really interesting no true Scotsman argument that comes
Mm.
with a lot of gay comedy that is like, oh well, this is the only true boys love because it's actually written by gay men and not those fetishistic women.
There are a lot of things that are wrong with that statement.
I I did not endorse that statement
No,
at
I
all.
know
I'm
you.
just
I
saying. But
absolutely know.
I don't co-sign on that statement.
I
I'm
would
just
not
saying.
dream of it. I
No,
mean,
neither of us. We'd have to give up our Yaoi license.
you can pry it from my cold dead hands.
Let's go into the pyramid.
You will never get to it. It's in a chamber with scarabs. You can't get it.
But yeah, like there's an interesting like no true Scotsman argument that comes out with a lot of gay comedy descriptions like, oh well, this is the only true way to enjoy gay stories. It's written by gay men for gay men, and then all the women that have made this industry what it is just sit in a corner, I guess, and feel bad about
Oh,
their life decisions.
yeah. And
And
I
all
mean,
the people that are non-binary, I guess, just aren't acknowledged.
they don't exist according to a lot of people. Happy Pride Month. There are no such thing as non-binary people,
Sentence is going to get
apparently.
clipped out.
No,
It's not the cancellation folder.
please. Please don't erase my non-binary friends. I need them. They're my friends, and they mean a lot to me.
Yes,
I,
your
I
your literal
no.
other half. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. No. No. You. What? I thought I was talking to myself. I didn't realize you were existing. I don't know.
Okay, Carola, we might have to accelerate that pyramid. We might have to
Yeah.
accelerate the timeline of that pyramid.
Yeah. I think I'm having a stroke. No. No. I was
Oh my
just.
god. But
No, I did see in one of these papers I was reading, there was a very
mhm,
interesting notion on gay komi, which was that it is actually considered closer to heterosexuality than BL is, that it is closer to heterosexual conventions. And get this, the reason, according to this quote that was in this paper, is because
mhm.
of the how much violence there is in these relations. And I was like, oh, so, and this is and again, not all gay komi. I don't read a
Yeah.
lot of gay komi. But like that is interesting because one of the first things that antis will tote at you is like, don't consume BL, read gay komi because that is much more wholesome because it's made by actual gay men. And
And
you're
they
over here like,
read like the one.
yeah,
They've
my
read
husband, my
yeah.
brother's husband,
Yeah,
which
like literally they've read that one.
yeah, which is so funny because if you look up Gengoro Tagame, um, most of his work is not like that.
Nope, it sure
Nope.
isn't. It isn't. But I do think it's interesting that yeah, like with gay komi, you get that again, that interesting conversation about well, the authorship is what makes it authentic. It's the
Hmm.
authorship that makes it better or worse. And again, we're not co-signing on any of this because we don't believe that. Um, but you'll hear a lot of not just antis, but we get to bring back our favorite conversation about fetishization of gay men.
Oh,
Uh,
how I have missed that conversation.
we get to
Haven't
bring
had
back our
that for
favorite
a while.
conversation of that part of the reason why people, especially gay men, will say, you know, they'll say in tandem, read and don't read gay komi because they don't want women touching it,
Hmm.
but they also don't want women doing anything.
Yeah.
So they just want to hoard their gay komi like dragons, which sure,
I mean,
I
to an
guess.
extent, I can understand. I
I
also
can
hoard,
too.
but
I
like,
can too.
I mean, I hoard and I also gatekeep. So like, you do you, but also
Mhm.
your argument is invalid.
Right. Well, I know, like, you know, we're getting into like Juneteenth and stuff like that here in the US.
Hmm.
And there's this thing, especially in black circles, that's FUBU, for us, by us.
Hmm.
And, you know, there's so much of me that, like, no, everybody should be allowed to enjoy our culture, blah, blah, blah. No, some things don't need to be leached out into primary culture. Like we're having that with Pride, where rainbow capitalism is rampant right now. And if I see one more basic Midwestern mom, like, oh yes, bitch, slay, you serve cunt. It's like I will throw myself into traffic.
Yeah.
Just yeet. I will.
Just a little less of your mindless love is love and a little more, hey, gay and queer and trans people are in danger and maybe we should,
Help them.
actively help them and do something. No, but just
Yeah.
like stick a rainbow flag on your Facebook profile and
Yeah.
like,
Put a rainbow banner on your Facebook and don't actually listen to your trans child. But there's that interesting author's note about it where it's like, oh, you know, who creates it does matter a lot. Um, I want to stick in queer romance. That's not. I don't like the way
hmm.
that sounded. We're not.
I
Talk
also
random
like
books.
sticking in queer
Please,
romance,
please
actually.
don't put your dick in random books. Um, queer
Please don't put
romance.
your okay.
Where are we
No.
putting dicks, Carola?
Well, not in my books, I'll tell you that.
They're way too thick. I, I wouldn't know what to do. That's,
No, I meant like in general, like in my book collection. No one gets to
oh, I
stick
thought you
their
meant
trusted
fucking
dick.
your novel.
No. No,
Okay,
don't do that either. But
I,
like,
I, I haven't,
thank
which
you. I'm
sounds
glad.
sketchy. Having to go out of my way to say that I
Okay,
haven't.
but in
Fuck
that
your
case, like, this is like a genuine follow up question, which is relevant because I know what you're like and where you like to leave your things laying around. So the question now is, but have you put your packer on top of my
No, my
book at
Packer's
any
right over
point?
here, off camera, next to
Okay.
a bunch of free posters, and where I keep my Nindo parts. And
You
your
know,
book is over there.
your Nendo parts and your other Nendo parts. Just
Yeah,
all
my
your
Nindo. Yeah, my Nindo accessory, my dick, is
yeah,
over there.
all of the accessory, all of the extra
Yeah,
body parts for
you can't
everyone.
see. Literally, it's right next to all my Nindo parts. It's
Yeah, no,
you
I
can't
can't
see it.
see it. I mean, not
Good.
that it matters. We couldn't be any more demonetized if we tried.
Just throws my Packer onto the flops it around.
I mean, why the hell not?
But there's this. But queer romance seems to be recently a bit of a catch-all term that like I was thinking about like has been and hell of a boss. Like I wouldn't
Mm,
necessarily call that MLM one because
mm,
of the format, which is pedantic, but leave me alone. But like it is objectively queer. I wouldn't call it yaoi because it doesn't fit yaoi
because it isn't.
conventions. Oh, Carola, I'm trying.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had a rough day.
Because I mean, but it isn't. So that is a queer romance. When there are queer relationships in shows that are especially, your Western live actions, your
Mm.
Western animateds, it fits your books that aren't Heartstopper and that are good. You know,
I don't like the thing is I don't mind it. I mind it more now for reasons.
most of my anger isn't at the actual work, it's at the author.
No, yeah, and
Like
I will say,
I'm very neutral about the actual work. I don't give a hoot and a half about the work.
mm,
I give mini hoots about that white lady.
yeah, yeah, same. I do. I read, when I read the first 3 volumes, I quite enjoyed. It was fine. Like I enjoyed it, and I think it's, for those who are in the intended age group, that is not me, because I am ancient. I can see how this can be an important kind of text, right? I did, however, get surprisingly invested in the teachers. There's a little teacher romance side story, which I do enjoy. I will say that, but I do not endorse the author.
Carola and I will always be Carola and I, no
We
matter
will
where we
never.
are.
Like we are
Please,
not on the same
if
page ever.
if you would love to learn more about that, definitely subscribe to our Patreon to listen to our Hotiful boyfriend playthroughs because there are very few things that are consistent in this world. But Carola and I will find a way to fuck a teacher.
Unless we die first, which honestly was a surprise.
But queer romance is this interesting catch-all term that basically,
Mm,
it holds the scraps.
yeah.
Um,
And
and yes.
no, I just wanted to say that, another way that at least I differentiate queer romance from MLM, or like, yeah, queer, I guess maybe not necessarily queer romance, but like queer media from, say,
Mm-hmm.
the term MLM romance. Not only because, queer encompasses like all identities
It
and
does.
genders, but also because, romance is a genre in and of itself. And so
Mm-hmm.
that has its own conventions. But
Mm-hmm.
then, so queer media can be so much more, or like, it doesn't have to adhere to those specific romance tropes or like
Mm-hmm.
romance plot points, but that, there's room for the other kinds of queer stories within that space.
Absolutely. And, on the topic of queer media, like, you get your place for like a lot of like Western web comics where oh my God, let me make sure that I'm getting this title correct because I know how important it is. The Less Than Epic Adventures of TJ and Amal, like, I would not consider that yaoi,
Mm.
but that's definitely queer media that
Mm.
deserves to be studied and appreciated.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think about like Aviale, that is definitely queer media and is worth being acknowledged, but I wouldn't call that yaoi. I wouldn't call
Mm-hmm.
that boys love. And is that because the creator is Western? Some of it. Also, a lot of it is that it definitely follows more Western
Yeah.
plot points and tropes. Like they're layered reasons behind these decisions. Some of them are influenced by shitty reasons.
Yeah. And
So, like, let's just be honest. Some of them are influenced by some very shitty reasons. Of So let's use that to segue into what was the old way of categorizing yourself? Sansa,
Sansa's hair cutting off my blood flow.
hello. Um, what was the old way of doing this? And I mean, firstly, off the bat, we wouldn't have called anything an MLM.
No.
Everything was yaoi essentially, if it was pornographic, or it was shonen ai if it wasn't. Is he hurting you?
No, he got stuck on a blanket and I tried to help him, so he tried to bite me.
So yes, he's hurting you. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
He's hurting you.
At least he was trying.
Bara, we did not call it gay commie back in those days.
No.
Bara was a subsect of yaoi that felt like it just wasn't catered towards women. And that was fine. We were fine with that. It's like, everyone has their thing. While queer romance and queer media has always existed outside of the Japanese space, we certainly didn't care about it. And we were busy, especially as fans, queering anything we could get our grubby fingers on. But as we mentioned in the shipping in Western fandom spaces, even though that shipping has always been present in Western fandom spaces, depending on what fandom you were in, it was almost seen as taboo. It was almost seen as like, oh, that's a gross thing that you can do to your degenerate Asian stuff. But you can't, and again, note that very strong language, because we're put a pin in that. That's what you can
like
do.
A pin cushion.
Yeah, you can do that to your dirty Asian books, but you can't do that to our upright and moral American comics written by misogynists.
Which is interesting because, if you didn't use the term yaoi, you used the term called slash. And slash was, at least in my circles, primarily used for Western media and Western ships.
Yep. And as we discussed in one of our fanfic episodes, there was a huge quality connotation with slash and other types of fic. So see all these interconnecting threads about quality and xenophobia and misogyny. Well, they all came to a head recently.
Oh, wow. We're having such a good time.
Yeah, we're having a great... Well, and I say that because this stuff did not exist out of nowhere. I think sometimes older fans will look at this hodgepodge, be like, well, back in my day, we didn't do that. Yeah, we did, just under different terms.
Yeah, and also, it was not always nice. We did not always play nice.
We were not nice. So, yeah, I think sometimes older fans do to, back in my day, we just lacked our gay shit. No, we didn't. We were mean to each other a lot. That's why most of us are ironclad. We were mean to each other frequently, and we had these conversations, denoting quality and stuff like that. The newer way of doing things is interesting, and there seems to be this really, really fascinating, I don't want to say reversal, but it feels like the denotations of quality, which put a big old pair of air quotes around that, seem to be really, really different. And one thing that I think is so frustrating about a lot of the Western MLM space is how much they love spending time bashing Eastern media as this gross, fetishistic porn hell space, while they're good, pure Western boys holding hands and maybe kissing books are good and pure and ideologically fine. And
Are you
we don't.
thinking of someone
Yes,
in particular?
I'm not thinking of anyone in particular at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I don't. I don't
There's
know her.
she doesn't go here. Uh,
It's
but
interesting.
we see that spread out, that beyond that influence, you do get more writers who are going out of their way to say, I'm not a yaoi writer, I write queer romance. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so do I, but I mean, it's also BL.
Yeah, like I started thinking of this like when it comes to like my own fanfic, where it's like I wouldn't
Hmm.
call myself like a queer romance writer. Like I write yaoi because I follow a lot of yaoi conventions.
Hmm.
It's why everything ends up on a bed.
Yeah, a
Where that bed is, a
huge
huge
bed,
bed, a
a
large
yaoi
bed,
bed,
a
a
yaoi
bed
bed,
that is bigger than most apartments.
a bed
Because
in the
what
middle
the
of a
fuck?
room.
Oh my
And
god!
then there's always two magical nightstands because you always need a place to hide the lube. So
Yeah,
there's always a bed and two nightstands.
and I know we're not talking about him, but every single time I watch Gravitation,
I was gonna say, are you gonna make this about Eri?
yeah, I look at AichiYume's living room and I ask myself,
How are you affording this?
why? No, but like, why is it? It's a huge ass empty room. There's nothing in it. There is the couch that is
Yes,
in that one corner, which is too big
yes.
for one person. And then there's like, I don't know, like a nautical mile between that couch and the TV. And there's nothing else. There's just a big empty room, you know, like his heart. And I'm like, Yuki, why? What the hell? Okay,
Just
I am fine.
sidebar. What does Eri watch on TV?
He Well, I know what he watches on TV at some point. I mean, he does watch the silly game shows that Shuichi goes on, and I think that that is beautiful. He does
I'm
watch
just,
his performances. He
I'm just trying to
supports it.
imagine like him just watching the news
I don't
and
think
just
he
being like
watches the
stressed out.
news.
I think he does. We can discuss these headcanons
I
later.
just
Uh,
I just realized that there are like things moving on the like the not the flags, but there are like gray shapes moving on our screen.
yes.
What the hell are those? Are they musical notes?
Corolla, Corolla doesn't have ADHD. We're fine. We're
I
totally
don't have
neurotypical.
ADHD. They tested me. I don't have it.
I
I
have
just,
it.
I have, I'm just scoring too high to be not on the autism spectrum, but not high enough to be on the autism spectrum. I'm just a nice in between.
Fair and valid. So the new way of doing these things is that most Western creators would like to slot themselves in the MLM category and sling their leggings in girl boss water. Um,
See, it's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. MLM, men loving men, pyramid scheme.
it is. And there's a huge implication in that it's like, I've seen rhetoric as radical as, oh, we need to take this genre back. And it's like, we don't own it. One, we've never owned it. Also, there's always been queer storytelling. Y'all just didn't start paying attention to it until white people could make it profitable.
Hmm. And one of the like, I don't know. I remember that I wrote notes that I keep not looking at. But one of the papers that I wrote, I did not write it. I read this paper and then I wrote notes about this paper, and it is interestingly called "Fetish versus Activism," which I think sums up exactly what what the new days are like. Like the new
Yes.
ways, that is literally it. It's fetish versus activism, and it does deal specifically um, with a comment made by a certain someone about
Mm.
a certain genre that she is not writing. But what I think is interesting, like this paper juxtaposed mostly Heartstopper
Mm-hmm.
versus Danmei in particular, but it
Mm-hmm.
does talk about like BL. And what I think is interesting, I put a note on one of these comments here is that, quote, this paper is by Seray Akula. It's a Turkish
Mhm.
name, so I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it says that let's see. Even though unrealistic to some, her work aims to bring some positivity and wait, this is not the yeah, some positivity and uplift the LGBTQ youth. She has an aim. She has the aim of doing activism, bringing awareness for other members of the community,
Mhm.
and then, which again juxtaposes how Western MLM writers in particular, like they they ingrain so much of their work in
Mhm.
activism and wanting to make a positive change, and then they juxtapose that with BL as being fetishistic. And then it says she regards BL works as fetishizing and overly sexualizing queer men, whereas she regards her own work as a comic that describes the romance, the feelings, rather than the sexual realities of those in her community, which she views as fetish. And I put a note in the margins here because this sounds a lot like the whole gay sex. That like gayness makes me think of anal sex, which is gross, whereas my heterosexuality and my heterosexual
Mhm.
identity is morally correct. And that's what it comes down to a lot of the time, is that the MLM is the morally correct medium because it's activism and realism and good representation, as if these things don't influence one another and overlap.
And I think that's we forgot to talk about like Dame and stuff like that.
Oh
We
yeah.
only did not because it's not because we don't care, it's because the episode would be 3 hours long.
Yeah,
Um,
and also because we were mostly like, I think we were looking at a lot of like older terms.
yeah, we
Yeah.
were saying it's like we didn't talk about Dame not because we were erasing it. We'd be here all day.
Yeah, and
Oh,
damme, just side note, just picking up a pin and sticking it in there, that
mhm,
damme is written with the exact same kanji that is tambi, which was one of the words that
mhm,
inspired BL. So damme
absolutely.
literally is just Chinese BL. And
So
again, it has its own conventions as
it
well, but
does.
it literally is Chinese BL.
Yeah. So stop acting like you're different from the rest of us porn eaters.
We're all porn eaters. Come
Like
on. And
stop acting like you're better than us. Oh,
you
we're
have
all
you
yes.
have the fish done, mate. You are not better than us, even though we found out that he does not fuck the fish.
I love that that was the conclusion we all wanted. I very rarely am not aware that like being a Yaoi fan has corrupted me. The fact that we were disappointed that Amanda doesn't stick his dick in a fish.
I know. Did you see? This is a side note, but I have to talk about this because I was fucking
God.
dying. You saw the salad, Yaoi, right?
The sandwich Yaoi.
Yeah, the bacon
I saw it.
lettuce
I saw
tomato.
it.
Yeah, okay. Well, yesterday I was looking into it because I was like, I need to read this, obviously, because this is the level I have reached. And not only did I find it, but I found a link to the official audio drama version of the Salad Yaoi. And I restrained myself not to share it on our Twitter until we talked about it because I wanted to discuss it. I listened to the bit that was posted on Twitter. It was fun. I didn't expect Tomato Chacho to sound the way he did. That was unexpected.
Carola, every day we stray further and further from God's light.
I know! And I'm just over here like just when I thought I'd reached some sort of end point. And then today I opened Twitter and Just British Things has posted that one picture of a BLT sandwich that has guacamole in it so they can call it an LGBT sandwich and slap like a pride sticker on it, and it hit differently.
We stray we stray so far from God's love and light every single day.
I was never in it.
I Is that why it's so cold? We strayed away. It's just like hell. We've strayed from God's love and light, the entire country of Norway. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's this fascinating implication in a lot of these romance stories now that Western is better than Japanese or
Mm.
Asian, that we've almost like reversed our position on the authorship issue because a lot of Western MLMs are written by cis het or cis but queer, white, or there are more people of color writing these stories, but it's still that flag is still a majority flung by white people. That but that's okay. Like we would be arguing about this years ago, in the fetishization conversation. But now it seems like it's only fetishization when fans are doing it. But when someone makes a mediocre book series that becomes a Netflix show, that's no longer fetishization.
Until, and this
Until,
is important,
yes,
until the author who said that there will be no sex in this comic posted a drawing of one of these wholesome characters looking up how to have safe gay sex, and the fandom exploded because they thought this was fan art, and then they find out that it's not fan art, it's not some deranged fan ruining their favorite bisexual wholesome boy, it is the author, and all of a sudden this is also fetishization, and suddenly the revolution is eating its own children.
I'm so
Who would have
tired.
thought? Who
I'm
would have
so
thought, Amanda, that the leopards eating people's faces party?
it's so it's so exhausting. And
Like,
while I'm yes.
no, I do mean to be shady, but like, I don't want to have. I'm just putting it out there as a disclaimer. I do not want to have any beef with the creator of Heartstopper. Please
I
don't
do
come
fight
for
me.
me. But it's just so misguided, and that comment has done so much damage, and it
Just
makes me so mad.
absolutely. And I think the big thing also is that, again, we're always going to point back to our Dr. Thomas episode.
Yes.
They act like these conversations have been happening only in the last few years. We've been having
Mm,
these conversations for we've always been having these conversations. That's why, like, again, like I mentioned, that, like Avatar: The Last Airbender example, we have been having these conversations of like what makes something something.
hmm.
For we have been going over the deontology of things for
Yeah.
years. I'm not going to say we were always great at it
No,
because if anything, I know I definitely fell into this where it's like anything from Japan is superior. Look at all this excellent storytelling. Yes,
that was
raising
me.
her hand and joining me. Yeah. It's like, look at how superior these comics and storytelling are. Everything is just a cheap knockoff of this. Don't worry about it. And like in hindsight, that's very short sighted
But
and
that
its own weird, gross form of racism.
it's a strange rite of passage that we had to go through
It is.
when you were just like at your peak
Your peak weeb.
Japan weeb phase, where you just
Yes.
Japan is the best, everything from Japan is better, everything. And I stand by that. I think that most animation, that comes out of Japan is superior to what is made in the West. But that is
I
also a matter of personal preference, because a
right.
lot of like Western style shows I don't like. But like I
Yeah.
watched Arcane. I liked Arcane mostly for the
Yeah.
lesbians, which I will admit is also a very biased approach.
Well, and again, like you can have that conversation without it turning to the flat out like just gross conversation some of us were having. Because like I was there, especially like being like a culturally abandoned black person in America.
Mm,
I had my head so far up Japan's ass that you
like
wouldn't
the
even I
Hatalia
could
character.
I found him quite dull.
I think most of us did, but we'll save that for next month, won't we? Mm. You're so excited. I live in fear. I am dipping my toes into things I did not need to know about.
Ah,
What the frick?
I'm so
Oh,
happy.
oh no.
It's the best birthday gift you could have given me.
I didn't even give it to you. It was just, you just decided and I just went with it. You know what?
Literally, yes.
You know what you can give me? You can give
What?
me our Halloween cosplay.
No. Denied. No. Um,
Sobi-san!
oh my god. Dies.
You're
Dies
gonna
off
throw me.
camera.
We're not even gonna do the Halloween episode. You're gonna fire me.
Yeah, there's going to be a mutual separation like a day before the Halloween episode.
Yeah, like no one sees this discussion play out on camera. Like,
Oh my god.
I had a thought
Sidebar.
and I lost it.
There's a National Museum of Nuclear Science and History in New Mexico.
Why are you still looking at museums about nuclear anything?
Because I want to go. And they have this very, very decked out school bus that's called the Einstein Express. And I don't
Okay.
think that that's how he would want to be remembered.
So like the real magic school bus then.
Yes, but with radiation.
Oh, fun. Let's no. Speaking of radiation, they just randomly dropped Godzilla -1 on Netflix today.
Yes, they did.
I am happy. It's such a good film. I enjoyed it so much.
Would you like to hear the slogan for the National Museum of Nuclear Science and Radiation?
Do I?
Reactions welcome.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
We're running away from talking about xenophobia.
Can you blame us?
We're running away from talking about xenophobia.
I wanted to say something before I mean it's it's kind of related because it's the whole because I mentioned briefly like there's an overlap, right? Because
there is. Yes.
Because especially we've talked some about like globalized BL and the influence of more countries coming in and making their own BL. Damme, Thai BL, Korean webtoons being licensed like crazy right now. We are
just
looking
out
good.
Out the ass.
I am enjoying this, and also like Western creators and indie creators and how all of these things are overlapping. But back in the like when you talk about how these discussions are, like I previously mentioned, the Yaoi Ronso, the Yaoi debate in the Japanese magazines in 1993, when they were discussing back and forth, is this fetishization? Is this bad rep? What is good rep? And, they were doing this in Japan in the early 90s. But also there was something called the queer contact zone. And the queer contact zone still exists. The queer contact zone was in these magazines, like in June, in B-Boy, where there would be like and also in magazines aimed at gay men that also featured like gay komi, where you would have like segments that were like there would be like articles and interviews and columns and people writing in, and there would be comics, and sometimes it was BL and sometimes it was gay komi, and the same artists would write for both types of magazines because there was an overlap of the audience. So it's not like only women consumed BL, and it wasn't like only like straight men, no, not straight men, gay men only made gay komi. But
like there's straight men?
No, there are no straight men. I mean, there were, and they were also in there consuming, right?
Yeah,
and
they were.
And it's the exact same thing. The queer contact zone is still here, and it's even bigger because you have like and I think it was Dr. Kirsten who had a very interesting panel at like I think it was FujoCon a couple of years ago about the bitches of BL, talking about this new, because we have the uke, we have the semen, we also have now something called the seke, which is like a character in between who's like, he's basically a switch. And BL creators like Sakira create these characters that don't fall into either the BL tropes or the gay komis, and they are being serialized in both types of magazines because there is an overlap of the audience, of the creators. It isn't black and white.
It is, even though they're literally in black and white.
I mean, yeah, the stories are in black and
They're
white,
literally they're,
but the
they're literally in black and
fandom,
white.
yeah,
But I think
for
it's
cosplaying.
fascinating. I think it's fascinating to me because like there is usually, like we mentioned this in our Western fandom episode, is that how often there's this perceived segmenting of
Mm.
yourself in fandom that it's like, oh well, if you like Heartstopper, of course you wouldn't like BL. And it's like it's the same fucking thing. Well, one's better written than the other. But
But I think and it's like I saw something that I thought was so beautiful when I was in the city quite recently. We were at Outland, our
I know.
very our very own only comic book store chain. Okay, like it's the only one we have.
Yes.
And in the BL like queer manga section, they have their
Mm-hmm.
little new releases shelf, and sitting
Mm-hmm.
right next to one another was the like this is it. This is a spectrum of BL
Mm-hmm.
fans, because on the left you have the newest volume of Killing Stalking, and on the right you have Boyfriends, the comic.
Yep.
And I was like, ah, yes, the
Yep.
two BL genders like
The
this.
two genders.
And it's like, it is me. I am the consumer of both of these.
No, it's true. Can we sponsor like the Yaoi Shelf at Outland?
I don't know.
Can we?
I can,
Can
I
you
can
go ask?
ask.
Can you
I can,
ask? It's like
what?
hello.
How do we do that then? Do you want? I will
I,
ask them. Do you want to like play our episodes in the store?
no, I just want like a sticker that's like sponsored by and like give them some money.
I want them to
Like
do that.
I want it to be a very very like casual endeavor. I don't I don't need us blasting through the that I think that'd be dystopian. And that
I
sounds
I don't
awful.
see how that. I don't see how that is any worse than when I go in there and they are blasting K-pop. I genuinely don't see a difference. It is warfare either way.
But the reason why we're having this conversation is Carola dies.
That's
Cor-
why we're having this
yeah,
conversation.
Carola is dying and is approaching her pyramid time. So we're having these conversations now while she's still here with us. No, we're
This is
having
the
these
conversation that's killing me.
we're having these conversations because it's like what we said at the start of the episode. There are genuine threats to queer people
Yes.
that don't involve us fighting each other over who is the true Scotsman of representation. None of us have time for this. There's actual things going on right now in the world that merit more attention than this. And not to say that these conversations are Sisyphean or useless or don't matter, but when we fight with ourselves, we give ourselves openings to let others attack us.
Mm.
I was just talking about this last night with a really, really close friend. Because like I've been sitting on a has been hotel video, and it's like I don't want to give anyone an in to falsely critique this show
Mm.
because it is still very progressive. It is still doing a lot representation wise. It is still important. I have valid critiques both on the representation and the writing. And as a queer person of color, I have a lot of questions about how Viv chooses to racially code her characters. But I don't want anyone to use my words as even the smallest blanket to walk in and just say, I hate this show because it's gay.
Yeah.
And there's that particularly happens to Black creators
Mm-hmm.
where we'll make a very valid point, and then there's just some fucking racist in the back. Like, that's right, I also think the colored shouldn't vote. And it's like, we didn't say that.
No one said that. I mean,
Like, and that it always happens. It always happens.
yeah.
There's just one fucking racist, transphobe, homophobe in the back who's just like refreshing anytime a Black person says something. It's like, that's right. The gays shouldn't have rights. It's like, no one said
No
that.
one said that.
I was talking about something else. But we need to have these conversations. So much like with my ongoing feelings about Has Been and Hell of a Boss, we need to critique these things because if has-been is going to be some of the only pansexual representation that we get, we need to talk about it. If has-been and hell of a boss are someone's baby's first whatever, then it is our obligation to discuss and to critique the. I'm still reeling from the GalaxyCon thing.
The what?
Okay.
Did I miss something again?
You did.
Oh
so,
no! Wait, was that the
little girl?
Oh, it wasn't the cosplayer getting harassed.
No.
No. Okay. No.
Okay. So, sidebar. Fangirls have always been inappropriate with voice actors. I'm not saying that because it's okay. We just have. Fangirls have always been inappropriate with voice actors.
Oh, I have an aside to that, but go on.
Recently at GalaxyCon, a 9-year-old asked Angel's voice actor a very sexually explicit question. And her mom was in the audience and like cheering her on. And everyone else was just like, why the fuck are you watching this show that's clearly for adults? You're 9. And why are you asking about a fictional spider's sex life?
Yeah. I mean, I am not the first person to be all, why are you as a minor consuming this content? But a 9-year-old should not be watching that show.
I'm in my 30s and sometimes I feel like has-been is too adult for me.
And then it's like, did you see that thing on Twitter where it was like, have you seen the end of Shingeki?
Yes.
Yeah. So did you see the thing with the 7th grader who had and they just drew the not the stampede, the rumbling with Eden and everything, and I'm like, I no, that is not how you solve racism, and also help. Like, I'm not saying, how old is an American 7th grader?
When I was in 7th grade, I was 13.
I think I was 12, but we skipped a year because they did a whole reform thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never in the 3rd grade. We went from 2nd to 4th.
Yeah, I was 12, 13.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's...
Like, I'm not saying that a 12-year-old shouldn't watch Shingeki. I don't know. I probably would have when I was 12. But I don't think that is the solution.
No.
Necessarily.
But this conversation is important because there are so many other tangential things that come up in this conversation.
Yeah.
Particularly the self-researching and asking these questions about xenophobia, fetishization, and the like. We're going to go into those questions before we wrap up on the last question that Carola added that I think is great, because I need time to think about it. So Carola added it, and I think it's great, but I also have been spiraling into an existential crisis.
Haven't we all?
Right. Is this fetishizing gay men? I think, at least in my opinion, I do get concerned when there are cis het, I'm putting het in air quotes, women that say they exclusively read gay fiction. That's a questioning woman to me, but she's not asking the right questions. I think to me it almost ticks off the same like alarm bells as like when guys say they only date black chicks. Like there's such a thin line between preference and fetish in that instance that I get why to the untrained eye all of it looks like fetishizing. Because there's definitely a conversation in there that when we were younger, what were we doing reading this stuff? You know, I thought I was straight once.
Yeah, I was straight once.
I was straight once.
No, didn't last.
It certainly didn't last, but I thought I was straight once. what were we doing, and why particularly certain types of these queer romances attract a very certain type of audience that isn't always as open as other segments of the group.
Mm.
That's curious to me.
I think for
Yes.
me, the answer is yes and no, because,
Yeah,
yeah, some consumers of gay content are fetishizing gay men or gay
of
women
course.
or trans people, because there's
Yep.
always going to be someone who fetishizes something. That
Yep.
does not mean that the entire community is
Exactly.
fetishizing. That doesn't mean that one specific genre is fetishizing. Like,
Hmm.
there are going to be people who fetishize it within BL, just as it
Hmm.
is within MLM romance.
Hmm.
And like you say, it's such a fine line between fetish and preference. And a fetish
Yes.
isn't inherently, it doesn't have to be a bad thing, because again,
No.
we are in Pride Month. People are going to be discussing, is kink okay at Pride? Is fetish
Yes.
okay at Pride? Like,
Yes.
people have been shamed and, pathologized for their fetishes, you know, all through history. So it's not like
Yes.
we don't want to sit here and say that, oh, you have this fetish, therefore you are subhuman. Like, that is not. But it's,
Also, we literally don't have the moral anything to judge
I
anyone.
don't have any morals. It is, and it's like, but here's the thing: like, enjoying something is not the same as fetishizing it. And I think that having a preference, I can't even explain. I think about this so often, like, why, you know, again, bringing my series into this, my live action series, that I see that
Hmm.
so many in the live action BL space
Hmm.
are so excited whenever there's like a new GL series. I don't like
Hmm.
the term GL, by the way. It was invented by fans and
Okay.
whatever. But the point is, they get excited about it, or like a GL side couple, and
Hmm.
I don't care. And then I'm like, why am I, as a woman who is attracted to all genders, including women, not excited about the queer women, but I want to consume the stuff about the gay men? But like, I don't have an answer. I don't know why I'm more attracted to media about men,
Hmm.
because in real life I'm more attracted to women, right? Or like
Right.
feminine presenting people. So it's like,
Right.
that doesn't necessarily define my personal taste, but in my taste in fiction, yeah, I prefer men. But I don't know why, and I don't have an answer.
Yeah. And I think, to stop this from being therapy, because we could both do this all day. Um,
God knows we need some therapy occasionally.
but again, it's that conversation with Dr. Thomas that we've been interrogating those feelings
Yeah.
for years. I think like that dovetails us into that xenophobia conversation where you see it on both sides, where you
Mm.
have these Western creators who are like, oh, well, our work is ideologically pure and it's not gross and fetishistic and pornographic like that Asian stuff. And it's like, okay, well, not all the Asian stuff is like that. Or you get older fans like me where I had to really grow out of my whole like, if it's from the East, it is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's superior in some way. This is the only true way to be a fan of boys' love is to inject gravitation into your veins once a week.
I will I will subscribe to that, though. I'm not gonna like that particular brand. Yes, thank you. I take
I'm
two.
also just trying to imagine like how to inject gravitation into into your body,
I'm sure
and it
Shuichi would
doesn't.
have some ideas.
But
It's just me, like that panel when Shuichi thinks Yuki's been kidnapped and he stabs himself in the wrist while
yes,
screaming Yuki's name. That is me,
yes.
and the knife is gravitation, and I'm just it's like,
But like we've been having these conversations with ourselves
yeah,
and changing and adapting and growing. Well, most of us, not all of us,
not all of
most
us.
of us, have been changing and growing and adapting in how we think about these things. These are conversations that we've been having for a while. And I think there's this art of subtlety that's really, really lost on this younger generation, where it's like you have to be having these conversations loudly and in public. You have to be having these, what really are like deep personal discovery moments. You need to be having them loudly and in public. I should every single day wake up and post on Twitter my specific trauma and how it relates to how I view media.
Yeah. And you should absolutely 100% know everything about your identity at age 12.
Yes. You should exit the womb knowing everything about who you are and never change because that makes you a phony or a trender. You
Mm.
know, you have to know everything about yourself, and it doesn't give you room to change your mind. It doesn't give you room to have a different opinion. It doesn't give you room to grow and change as a human being. It's
As your
stifling.
brain is also growing and developing and
Right.
understanding and changing. And yeah.
So let's go back to the question that Carola asks. How do we as authors ourselves approach this, and how do we label our works?
Mm.
Do you want to go first?
I mean, yeah, I can go first. It's not.
Please.
I mean, I basically touched upon it. Like I do label my work as BL. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
occasionally put the MLM tag on it, but that's for the reach. That is to
Yeah.
reach the. I mean, that is fighting the algorithms
Right.
and like I have been a member of communities like writing communities that are both like
Mm-hmm.
MLM centric and BL centric, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
I'm most at home in the BL space. And obviously this is the genre that shaped me.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and like you said, like these are the conventions that I adhere to and
Mm-hmm.
the tropes that I adhere to,
Mm-hmm.
that you know I tried to do when I was young and stupid and published my first novel way too early. I'm going to fix that, by the way.
I know.
I like to tell people all almost in an what I now see as a kind of like white savior kind of way that I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to inject some reality, like realism. Oh, listen to me sounding like these people, like into BL and like taking
Right.
the BL aspect and like taking um more realistic approaches to
Right.
it. And like I mean and I still kind of do that, but the difference is of course that again, and we've talked about this so much on this show, so much of the
Mm-hmm.
BL that we got that was translated in the early
Mm-hmm.
2000s was
Mm-hmm.
very similar. It was,
It was.
it didn't deal with, like I didn't know that New York existed and like talked about AIDS, you know? And that
Yeah.
existed. It's been there the whole time. So like now obviously the genre is expanding and dealing with a lot of different topics. But it was also doing that 30 years ago. We just didn't know it because we didn't get that part of the media. So I still, I take the things that I love about BL, but I also take the things that I want to see in the BL that I consume. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
essentially just writing what I like and what I want to see.
Right. I
And,
think
yeah. And
yes.
when I was writing fan fiction, I was in my fan fiction era. I was
Yep.
using the yaoi tag. I was using the M/M tag, and
Mm-hmm.
various fruits as one
Yes.
did.
I it's weird for me because when I'm not published, um so as a fanfic writer, I mostly just say that I'm a smut peddler. Like
Mm.
I'm just like
I
for
love that
me,
term, by the way. It
like
is.
I'm just a smut, like just with my wagon, my wagon and my donkey. I roll into town and lift up the caravan, and it's like, would you like to peruse my wares?
It is me
Like,
running after you like a kid after the ice cream truck. Like,
right? Like I
hello.
just, like I'm thinking about finally posting another fanfic. It's been like a year since I posted a fanfic.
Mm.
Like, so yeah, I just every once in a while I mosey into town. It's like, hello there, I have some porn. And then I go back to my hovel, my cave,
Mm.
and I chip away at whatever I'm working on. And I say that with pride. Like it is not as derogatory to me to hear that because that's what I do. And like I definitely consider myself more of like a yaoi BL writer than anything
Mm.
else because if you read my work, it hits a lot of those old BL
Yeah.
fan fiction tropes, especially. Um, and even when I'm not explicitly writing BL, which I'm always writing BL,
You can write something else.
I know, like I'm over here writing like work articles, and it's still BL
Yeah,
somehow.
right. I'm like over
Uh,
here. How can I make this article gay?
How to make gay? You know, even when I'm writing non BL things, which again I'm always writing BL,
Mhm.
it still feels like it hits a lot of those same tropes as like shonen anime does. Like
Mm.
you can very clearly, if you read my fic, you can see laid out in front of you where my inspirations are. And I think that that's always aligned itself more with saying that that's yaoi or BL.
Mm.
Um, Even down to naming this podcast, one, we chose the Yaoi Shelf, and by we I mean mostly me, because Carola
I
wasn't there.
wasn't there.
Well, yeah, Carola wasn't there. Like that wasn't even like me trying to be shitty. Like Carola physically wasn't there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
wasn't. Didn't exist.
you existed. You just weren't
Not.
on the show yet.
Yeah, but I didn't exist. In your knowledge.
You didn't. You didn't exist until our arranged marriage.
No, this is true. Actually.
Uh, but this was very intentionally meant to be about specifically Japanese media and
Mm.
yaoi in particular. And when we say a spirited BL and yaoi podcast, we started very narrowly in this sphere of Japanese media. But look at how far we've expanded, where we've talked about Danme, we've talked about Thai live action, we've talked about Korean, web comics. Not in depth, but we've talked about it. We've talked about Western comics. Like, again, it's that idea that, oh, if you like anime and manga, you only like anime and manga and you don't like other things. It's like, no, I still like Doctor Who. I like other nerdy things. I love comics. Like, I'm a nerd.
Mm. I am also a nerd. Not necessarily on the same within the same fields,
Right.
but like I have consumed Western nerdy content.
It makes it sound so taboo and illicit. It's like, I have
I
also.
ha-
I've partied with some Western content.
yeah. I'm trying to remember any Western content that I have been.
That isn't a documentary on a serial killer or the Titanic.
That is not the same. Is I mean, when it's like, but I've said this before, like, I will enjoy Western. Like, I am enjoying Hell of a Boss. Like, I think it's really fun. I like watching it with my friend. I like Stranger Things. And I will say that it is 90% because of Steve. And when Steve was wearing the sailor uniform, that was what got me. I don't care about anything else. I care about Sailor Steve. I think
Carola,
that is.
are you
What?
sexualizing a minor?
No. He's not a minor. He's a single mom of like 5 kids, Amanda. He has a job and responsibilities.
Oh my god. I've had a
And
lovely
children.
time.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say about him? No,
Name it.
you're good. Okay. Is he dead?
No, but like, I don't know when the final season is coming out.
Mhm. I don't know why I said that like I have insider information. I don't.
Do
Uh,
you? Do
I
you? Am I
physically
gonna
I
have to
don't.
shake it out of you like some kid's lunch money or something?
I'm
Like, I
I'm much heavier than you are. I would love to
I
see you
am
try.
in my bully era. I am.
I
If
would
it's for
love to see
Steve,
you.
I will.
I would pay cash money to watch you try to lift all X amount of pounds of me off the ground and
I mean,
shake me.
I can't even lift a grocery bag. Like,
Yeah,
I don't.
I am significantly heavier than that.
Oh
Uh,
my god, I struggle. I don't understand how I still live.
Spite.
Yeah, actually, wrath.
Yeah, gay wrath.
It is I.
This is the part of the show where we thank our patrons.
Thank you,
Uh,
patrons.
Patrons get lots of fun perks like a monthly video in which we are more unhinged usually,
Can you imagine?
including exclusive merch, which should be resuming soon, and of course our eternal gratitude and appreciation, as well as their names called out at the end of every episode, starting with Dobie80, Koval, Sue, Lucy H, Amora Blue, Nabila, Rin, Wesley, Jamie, Lauren, and Jay. Thank you so much for
Thank
supporting the
you.
show. If you would like to join them, you may do so at patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. Again, that is patreon.com/the Yaoi Shelf. I love that this is what I use my radio voice for.
Yes, you're very good at it. It's very pleasant.
Thank you. Thank you. I
I
appreciate
sometimes
it.
forget when you do this. I kind of forget that I am also on the show because I feel like I'm just listening to the radio. So I'm just like, "All right, I am also here. Should I say something?"
It's like, oh, wait, this is also my show.
Yeah, like, wait, I'm not just listening. I am actually physically here. Um, kudos to Amanda's radio voice making me forget where I am.
Because at first I was really confused why I align so easily with Vox and Has Been. And it's like, oh, that's why.
This is just the same vibe.
It's like, oh, that's why. Because I was really like concerned. It's like, why is it Vox that I relate to out of all of them? And it's like, oh, that's why. We are all over the social internet,
We
including
are.
Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Tumblr, all at the Yaoi Shelf. Um, we are doing our best to be more active everywhere, especially as Twitter, I will never call it X, continues to be
X.
a massive disappointment.
The only acceptable dead naming.
The only acceptable dead naming. Um, and Carola, would you like to give a note about engagement?
That your engagement helps us grow and oh my god, brain stops working. No, really, we do appreciate any kind of engagement. Like it helps us grow, it helps let
Mm-hmm.
other people know about our
Mm-hmm.
unhingedness.
Mm-hmm.
So a like, a comment, a share, a follow, a recommendation. I think you can review the podcast on
You
like
can
Apple
on
Podcasts and things.
yes. We would love to get more reviews. Also, if you're one of the several people that has purchased our Omega Verse Scholar
Yeah,
merch,
what? There's a lot of people purchasing the
please, I want to see it.
show it
I
off. Like we would love to
show it
see.
on.
Where are you
We
putting your stickers? Are you
yeah,
putting them anywhere, or are you like me and just like terrified of
in a
using
box
stickers?
in a jar
Yeah,
somewhere. If
listen.
you're using this mug, do you take this mug to work? Like, I just want to know. I love
Yeah,
seeing my designs out in the wild.
or like
Um,
tell us, where do you listen to the podcast? Are you one of these unhinged people listening on your commute?
I
Or
am.
you are. Of course
I
you
am.
are.
I,
Are you listening in the sanctity of your car? Shout out to the people who have confessed to listening to us on road trips.
Shout out to the road trippers who have locked their friends in a vehicle for several hours while we unhinged yell about fictional dicks.
It's like, what playlist? We're gonna listen to these unhinged people talking about the
We're gonna
fictional gays.
listen to these ravenous loons.
The filthy rabid porn eaters.
Yes. Uh so thank you so much for listening. Carola, would you like to tell the listeners at home what we're covering next month for our birth month?
Oh yeah, we are talking about Hetalia. It's time to get geographical. I know nothing. My dad just came in with like a pair of pliers. I understand nothing.
Is this a setup to a bad movie? What?
I don't know. I guess we're torturing someone afterwards.
Tell him I say hi.
I will when I see him again. No, we're
I
gonna be
want
talking.
yes.
Yes, we're gonna be talking about Hetalia, which is exciting because this is something of which I know very little. I have watched Hetalia, but I was never in the fandom, and the more digging I do, the more glad I am that that was never my. I didn't go there, and I think that. I think we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna
I
be
was
wild.
there. I saw the depravity of DFW Hitalia, which ruined conventions for everyone forever. I'm so excited. It feels like therapy. It feels like I finally get to like release this chapter of my life because much like with a lot of older series, I'm very, very tired of younger fans coming in and just talking about how problematic it is and how bad the fandom was. while none of that isn't true, if you weren't there, you don't get to talk about it.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I am
If
only here to I think that next month is going to be mostly Amanda's Hetalia stories while I just listen in shock and
yeah, while
horror.
Carola listens in fear. If
Uh,
you have not been in a caramel dancing line with a bunch of France and England cosplayers and like just pelvic thrusting into the wind,
I
you
have
don't.
done a lot of Caramel dancing, just not
Of
in
course,
Hetalia cosplay. It is
well,
Swedish. We practically claimed it. I can. My only contribution. I can dig out my Norway cosplay photos.
yes.
I can do that, and then I can see. I do not promise anything, but I can see if I can find that one Lietpol fic I wrote in 7,000 years ago. It
You
should
guys,
exist.
you guys can enjoy my French fic that I wrote all in French
Oh
and
my
looked at actual
god.
ancient maps for
Oh
you.
my god. I just
I
realized
yes.
we were digging through I had some intense bonding with my dad this week. We've been
I
digging through boxes. Yeah.
yes.
And in one of the boxes there was a lot of old schoolwork, including a French test from like the ninth grade, which I did surprisingly well on despite all the mistakes. And it just struck me that the Hetalia fans must have been writing like Hetalia fanfic for their French tests. And I have just like, there's just
Carola,
a whole new can of worms. I am
you have
afraid,
no
Amanda. No,
idea what we were doing.
I know that you went to Austria because of it, so this is going to be fun.
I did.
Oh my god.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm on pins and needles. It's going to be a great birth month. France's birthday is also during July.
You know who else's birthday is also in July?
Is it G?
Yeah, it's on the 4th. I will be celebrating him on the 3rd through the 5th. No one will get to talk to me. I'm going to have a great time.
I will actually be out of town celebrating my birthday early.
Ooh.
Look at me taking vacations.
Will it be denim and diamonds again?
Fuck no. Fuck no. I haven't even touched that dress since I washed it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you do with the dress?
I'm gonna burn it. But thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you so much.
Genuinely, it being Pride, I just feel so blessed that as a Black queer content creator that I get to, multiple times a month hang out with one of my best friends and talk about something that I'm very, very passionate about.
Has no words. No, you have rendered me speechless.
Nordic shock.
Nordic shock. And it's like the expression doesn't even change. It's like, this is the Nordic. I'm sorry. No, but I agree. I complain a lot. I know, but like I love that we can do this, and especially, I mean, we're gay all year. The Yaoi Shelf is always this gay show that's just like,
You don't say.
but I think that, we're just ramping it up for June, and it's like,
Yep, and then it's our birth month.
yeah,
So
we're allowed to be a little unhinged.
Yes. When are we hinged?
I have never been hinged.
What?
I'm about as
Yes.
hinged as there's like, I have like this little storage space, and
Yes.
the door, like the hinges are falling off, so like the door keeps falling off the door frame. That is me. That door represents me on a spiritual level.
I think the most hinged we were was with Dr. Thomas because we both were on our best behavior.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Welker as well.
Dr. Welker too. Whenever there's a doctor on, we're super like hinged, and then we revert back to being gremlins later.
I think that we do very well at cleaning up like once
Yes.
a year when we have like a
Yes.
super distinguished guest on.
Yes.
Although I was discussing fucked up captchas with Dr. Welker on Twitter the other day.
Yes, you were. But thank you all for listening. We sincerely appreciate your time. Happy Pride and stay safe out there.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.